Welcome to Bamboozle's Ball Guide. We're going to go over tech. Tech's really important. If you can't kill anybody, you're never going to get value. Ball is a dive slash assassin slash contest hero, much like Doomfist. If a Doomfist can't kill anybody, he loses. Right? So, how do we kill people? You have guns, but your guns are kind of ass. They're really bad. The reason you're really bad with guns is because of the spread. That's really bad. You have about the same effective range as Tracer. Maybe a little more, and you're not going to do as much damage as Tracer, even at close range. But just keep that in mind when you're fighting, that your guns are by no means whatsoever your primary ability. They should not be used as such. They're not used to kill people. Typically, they're used to generate ult charge, to poke, and to finish weak targets. If your team doesn't create weak targets, you do. That is your job, right? So, how do you do that? You do that with tech. You do that by slamming people. Can you play ball without using too much tech? Yeah, absolutely. But you're not going to be as good as a ball that has the same knowledge with tech. So you got to learn it. It's really important. Tech can be broken into two different categories. It can be broken into jumps and grapples. We're going to go over jumps first. So, first you have a wall climb, which is you start really close to the wall and just kind of jump up like that to get some height. Kind of sucks. You have to set up for it. You have to be waiting. It has to be the right spot. You can't even get up a lot of walls. So, not really worth your time. Okay, wall jumps. Wall jumps are pretty basic, extremely important. If I'm fighting on point and I just pretend that there's nothing I can jump off of, even though there's a cart right next to me and I want to slam, I just wall jump and I slam. This is how it's used all the time. I recommend, a lot of people won't use it in game when they're not confident. I recommend you still go for it, because if you're sitting here, right, maybe you're shooting, you go for it, you mess it up, okay, just go back to shooting, whatever. Or you should have your grapple, because you're a good ball player and you always have your grapple, and you're just going to leave. Right? So, it can be used on flat ground. It can also be used to take high ground. So, here's a little tip. Eichenwald, it's like, first point. A lot of people like to sit up here. Whatever. You can use that phone booth to slam off. Why do I use the phone booth? I use the phone booth because there's a lip. It can make it a bit harder sometimes. You can still absolutely 100% go off, but you see the lip can prevent you from doing that. You gotta get pretty good at coming off the wall and coming back on. I just find that personally, I'm more consistent just jumping off this thing. So, what you're gonna do is you're gonna roll, and you see I'm just coasting, right? And I'm kind of bouncing, and as I hit the wall, I'm hitting S and spacebar, or whatever your jump key may be. Mess it up a couple times there, and that's okay. It's whatever. So, you can use it to slam high ground, you can use it to slam low ground. You can use it if there's a situation where you're on flat ground, you have mines. Let's see, I want to mine right here. You should always try to, when you mine slam, you slam. We'll talk about more on that later. So, with wall jumps, there's also different types of wall jumps. That is the most basic, and that is used for flat walls. They're the most important because flat walls are the most common. Right? I mean, just everything's flat. However, Overwatch, or Blizzard I should say, is pretty shitty at making object hitboxes. So, like these pillars, for example, they're actually kind of rounded. They're not really pointy like that. Because of that, you can have funny interactions with them. So if you just roll into it and hold W, you notice I just kind of like hard stop, like a wall. If you jump, I'm getting height. Just to prove that it's not the slope on why I'm getting slam height. Right? You really don't need much height for slam. You really don't. If you're going like up here to slam first point every time, you're never going to leave flat. Like, that's just how it is. You need to be able to do that. Any sort of hitbox in this game that's kind of funky, like you can see this thing's all sort of messed up, you can just hold W and jump off of it. It's really that easy. It gets even more fun if you combine Fireball with it. This one's kind of crappy, but if we take a look at the front of this payload, What is this? Oh my god, it's a slanted wall. We can use this slanted wall to jump, like that. Combine fireball with it. Whoa, we get a big jump. You can use that to contest high ground here as well. Like if there's people here, whatever it may be. The lovely part about this payload is it follows you wherever the fight may be. Right? You're typically, as a ball, going to want to fight on point. The reason you want to fight on point as ball is because you always have something to grapple onto, you always have cover, and you always have a jump spot. Even if we're on a different map and maybe you can't super jump off the payload, you can just jump and slam. It is the easiest thing in the world. If you're fighting on point, jump, slam. Right? You always have a slam position. You don't have to do fancy backwards. You don't even have to do the easy one in the front. You can just jump on the back and slam. It's that simple. It's free value. The only time you don't want to do that during a fight is if you're aware that they have some sort of CC that can stop you from your slam. Because as you notice, it's pretty obvious where you're going to land, and it's pretty easy to hit you in the air. A good Ana will sleep you in the air. A lot of people in the lower ranks will try to sleep you on the ground, but that's pretty bad because if you land, you can just move, but you're stationary in the air during slam. I cannot control that. That's an animation. It's an ability usage. So just be careful with it. And kind of leaning more into that. Slams are for your team. They're not for you. The only time a slam is for you is when you're 1v1ing somebody. If you slam the enemy team, you're going to get ult charge off of it. Yeah, and you might get a pick or two. But realistically, what you're doing is two things. You're slowing them, and you're displacing them. As they come up, maybe they pop up behind a shield. Maybe they pop out of cover. Maybe they can't move out of a bad position. You're kind of relying on your DPS to pick up some slack there and, you know, create their space off of your slam. As a ball player, you are essentially set up. You're just set up. If you're playing against good people, with good people, you're just setting up your DPS and you're full enabling them. Similar to D.Va, in that is how you make space. If you can't do that, if you have a garbage team, you're against a garbage team, something along those lines, pretty common in ladder or whatever, you just have to kill people. That's how you do it. But jumps are primarily for your team. You can also super jump off people. It's kind of difficult, but it works best against big tanks and DPS. You can pretty much always out jump every character in this game. I mean, look at the amount of height you get from that. So if you're getting body blocked or something weird's happening, just go into ball form and jump over them. If you roll into somebody at max speed, that is not fireball, so just like this, you can actually super jump off of them just like I'm doing on the payload. It's pretty easy. It takes a little bit of practice, but you can totally do it. So, the other part is grapple. The simplest, yet also most complex ability that ball has. Grapple is your number one thing. You want to make sure you have it as much as possible, and you make sure you always get value off of it. If you don't get value off of a grapple, not that big of a deal, it's whatever, but you know, don't make it often. So, a lot of people think of ball as a contest hero and spin to win, right? Spin to win. Woo! Yeah, if you spin to win, you're probably gold. It's really bad. Why is it really bad? Does it make it harder for somebody who's following you around in a circle like this to hit you? Yeah. Does it make it hard for me if I sit here and just wait for you to come around the side of this thing and then sleep you? No, it's really easy. It makes it easier. When you use grapple, you want to be pretty unpredictable, and you always want to hold on a little bit longer than you think you need to. For example, if I'm contesting this point as a defender, I'm not going to spin to win. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grapple, boop somebody, and just kind of move around in this way. When you're using your grapple, like I said, you want to get value, so don't just spin and hope you hit somebody. Target people, like hit. Maybe I hit somebody here. Maybe I jump up, hit somebody, right? So just keep that in mind when you're contesting and when you're fighting on point or anywhere else. You can use spinning in a couple pretty good ways, but again, you got to be careful, and I wouldn't go around like a pillar or something more than once. Example is this spot. Let's say there's somebody hiding in there. I can grapple on, come through, come out, and then go. But I'm not going to really do any more than that, or maybe once or twice, right? You can also come up on this thing and use this for scouting and to bait out abilities, because sometimes people will think that you're going to slam immediately off of that, especially if you're attacking. If I roll through here, we get first. Say I roll through the team, I come around. A lot of people think you're going to slam. So just roll with it one more time, and then you can go to your position. It also gives you a second to slow down and really take a look at what's going on around you and plan out your fight accordingly. You want to make sure you're talking to your team when this is happening. If you don't talk to your team, they can't use your SAM, and SAMs are for your team, so you're getting no value. With grapple, there's a lot of really cool tech you can do. A big one is rebound. Rebound is extremely difficult to hit, to be honest, but you can get pretty consistent with it. You're just going to grapple at a wall. Now you see, even though I grappled farther away, I have limited, it kind of reels it in like a fishing rod, right? And when you come off of this, so once I hit the wall, it seems like you can't get fireball, but you can. And you could hear it right there, go like whoosh or whatever. You basically have to release your left click at the exact moment that you get fireball in order to keep it. Like that. Again, it's very difficult, takes a lot of practice, but once you get used to it, it's really, 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 really good. For example, it can be used to get health packs a lot of the time and then come out with fireballs. So there's not really any very good ones you can use it on. First point Ike. But if you imagine, for a second, if you will, there's a health pack right at this door. Get the health pack, back in the fight, right? You get fireball for a pretty long time. And you can extend it by jumping, because you're decreasing your rolling resistance, because you are a ball. So that's again, you're just going to come at the wall, turn around pretty quickly, and release it right there. It's pretty difficult to do just coming off of a wall, and I don't think I would ever recommend just grappling on and trying to go. You're just going to kind of look like an idiot and then die because you don't have grapple. So you got to make sure you're coming at it and rebounding, right? Speed of rebounds, there's a different type of rebound, which is you grapple. I'm going to W the way I'm going. When I hit this wall, I'm going to 180 quickly and just W right off. If you do it correctly and you 180 fast enough, you will maintain fireball throughout the duration. You do lose it for about a split second, but you're maintaining momentum in such a way that you get it back so fast, and you can just kind of knock people around like that. Okay? This can be used in a few different ways. For example, if you're fighting somebody in here, you can just kind of grapple and hit back and forth. And anytime you hit a wall, you just do your little 180. It can get kind of sloppy in rooms if you don't really practice it, and that's okay. But generally speaking, you're just going to want to bounce it off walls. Right? It can be tough if you come around a corner, and you can actually get stuck, like here, in a lot of spots with it. So just make sure, whenever you do it, you're doing it against a long, flat surface. Like this, again, first point icon weld, let's say you push him back, maybe you're up one. I'm going to go in, hit it, and then get out. Right? This serves a couple purposes. Number one, I can double boot people, or multi-boot people, which is really good. More damage, more ult charge. It also baits things out and kind of throws them for a loop. So if I grapple here and I rebound, most people are going to expect you to just roll through, right? Especially because this is actually a pretty good roll through spot. Why? Because I can slam off of it. Because there's a downward slope, as Hammond said. So you can kind of juke people out, get them to use their cooldowns, and then just come right back off. Again, this is a pretty good spot. You have access to Mega in there. So, you know, whatever. There is... I'm not sure if it's possible on this map, other than, like, maybe here. So grapple goes through walls, if you haven't noticed. For example, if I grapple here, the grapple maintains, and I can still use it. So there's a few spots, I know there's one on Chunkertown that's pretty good, where essentially all you're going to do is grapple under something, and then it will follow you on top. Oasis University, very good. You can grapple under the tunnel. If we imagine the circles here, there's a tunnel. You can grapple and then just roll over. Okay. Now, when I jumped down there, if you notice, I moved kind of slow, like I didn't just come down. And that's because there was an effect called tight roping happening, which is another bit of tech. Tight roping isn't really that good. It's very niche. Generally speaking, you're not going to want to be crossing large open areas pretty much at all, because CC is like your worst nightmare, right? But what you do is you grapple to the opposite high ground and then just jump, and it can get you across. You need more speed than I had right there to get up to it. So I'll just do that one more time so you can actually see what it looks like. Right? Kind of weird looking. It works because it's trying to maintain momentum, and this, although this is kind of a shit spot, if I do it here, for example, I get Fireball. This is a very good spot to use Tightrope on Icon World. And then there's the classic, the double boop. Double booping in Overwatch 2 is very easy because they buffed Ball's knockback. So essentially, all you're going to do is, if you imagine a player standing right here, and I want to boop him back, the number one rule is grapple far behind them. A Fireball, hit them, stop, Fireball, hit them. It's really that easy. It's not that hard. Fireball, hit them, Fireball, hit them. You, if you're good, can chain 3, sometimes 4 if it's like a tank together, and kill them. You can use that to boot people off from spots where they're safe, or where they think they are safe. Here's the thing with booping. Ball, especially when he has Fireball, see, it takes a second to slow down. Remember we were talking about you maintain momentum? Right, so Ball can be too fast for his own good. Let's say I have Fireball, or I'm hurtling towards this edge. How do I stop myself from going off? Well, number one, if you jump over the edge, you can see my control lights up. Whoa, that means I can slam. And I'm just going to slam. You can use this in a lot of different ways. My favorite method is to kind of juke them out. So I will just jump off the edge, 180, and then come back on. But I'll hang here for a second until I just barely don't have enough height to hit this, and then I will come back on. Generally speaking, a lot of people will turn and look away. They'll think you're an idiot, but in fact they are the idiot, and you've bamboozled them. Pretty standard to just jump off and slam. Pretty easy. Doesn't really take practice. You can just kind of do that, and you can in fact hold shift to do that. Really easy. Just got to make sure your 180 is fast enough to hit when your control is. If you're holding control, you probably don't know when it's going to happen, and you're going to have to kind of 180 during the slam, and you don't really want to be doing that. So again, I encourage you to hold, or not hold it, but you totally can on this kind of a jump if you want to. The other way, so you can use that to stop your momentum. That was my point, is if you're flying towards the edge, you can just 180 and slam and stop your momentum. The other way you can stop your momentum, and the better way to do it, unless you're slamming somebody, is to just click. Just left click. Or press shift. But I'd click, because it's faster. It instantly stops your momentum. It's that easy. You can also use this in the air, because now I can kind of like aim where I want to go instead of try to move this weird ball momentum air thing going around. So, when do you slam and why do you slam? You always want to have this in your head when you're going to slam. Again, same as for your team. You want to slam not to open a fight because they'll have all their CC. Generally, it's best done during mid-fight. You can initiate with slam, but you got to be really on board with your team, and you got to be calming it. If you just go in and slam all 5 of them, you're gonna die. If they have a Zen, a Sombra, like anything with high burst damage, you're just going to die 9 times out of 10, and it's just not worth doing. What's better is picking off smaller people, and that's kind of Ball's job, is to disrupt. So, how do I disrupt? Let's say they're pushing through here, okay, and my team's up here. Instead of just slamming them like an idiot and then dying, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up and I'm going to wait. This is a good spot to wait. You kind of have to balance and do a little juggle or whatever. They can't hear it, so don't really worry about it. But you're going to want to roll through, and then because you have that crazy boop, you're going to push people away from each other. You want to prioritize supports at all times. However, as ball, you can kill anybody. You can literally win a 1v1 against any player, or not player, rather, any character in this game. Okay? You really can. I promise. I promise you can. You just have to be good enough, and they have to be bad enough. So, what you want to do is you want to separate people. Don't shoot the tank. Yes, you can beat them in a 1v1. Yes, you can probably kill them a lot of the time. But it's dumb. Don't shoot the tank. This is an Overwatch 1 where tanks are easy to kill. They're going to have 2 supports helping them, and they're going to have DPS shooting you. And they're probably going to be doing a lot of damage to you. Just don't shoot the tank. You shoot the tank when they are either extraordinarily killable, such as Zarya with high charge, 1 health, no bubbles, and no supports. There's something along those lines. But when you boot people and when you roll through, you're kind of doing 2 to 3 things at one time. You're generating ult charge, which is good. You're doing damage, which is good. You're also confusing them and disrupting them and displacing them, which is the most important. Again, let's say people are rolling through here. I'm going to boop here, maybe push a couple guys over there, and then I can boop this way and push maybe a backline support, because this is where the backline is if they're walking up here, right? Then I kill them. If at any point I notice these guys are going to come back and give them help, I leave. It is not worth dying to kill somebody. Your ball. Pretty much your #1 job is to stay alive, and you can tell a good ball from a bad ball by their death count. Your ball really should not be dying all that much. Like, less than 7 to 6 deaths per game, maximum. If you're dying more than that, that's fine. You just need more practice, or you need to swap. It's one of the two. But you're basically just going to roll through, generate some ult charge, maybe bait some abilities out, single somebody out, and kill them. Adaptive shields. Great ability. Extremely busted. People don't realize how busted this ability is because nobody at the lower ranks uses it correctly. A lot of people will hit it and then go in. That's dumb. Don't do that. It's stupid. Never, 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 ever hit your E unless there is more than 1 person around you. And you can tell because a nice little meter will show up on your screen. If you are 1v1ing somebody and it's life or death, hit your E. But it's a 15-second cooldown. It's a long time. And it only lasts for like 7 or 8 seconds. It's on a timer. You don't just get that health, right? It works kind of like Junker Queen's Shout. You don't just want to be using it willy-nilly. You gotta, like, make sure you're really, getting value out of it. Ultimates are not charged off of shooting balls' adaptive shields. And you cannot get shields off of somebody who is currently shielded themselves. So if somebody's standing behind a shield, Zarya bubbled, stuff like that, you're not going to pull adaptive shields off of them, so just wait. Sometimes it is worth, when you roll through a team, to just hit E, even if you don't take damage. Because if you're rolling through a team correctly, and you single somebody out, you will then have 12 to 1300 HP that you can use to kill them. Your health on ball is not what a lot of people think it is. It's a timer. Okay, because as ball, you're massive, you're really easy to hit. If you come out to shoot somebody, you expose a crit spot. Like, it's a timer. All you're doing is waiting for that timer to go down. The E extends your timer. It is up to you and how you use your shields, how long you have to stay in a fight. Okay, if you use your shields correctly, you can stay in the fight and get lots of value for a long time. If you use it incorrectly, you're either going to die or you're going to have to get out way earlier than you really should be. So, yeah, don't waste your shields. Just use it around people. It is literally, if you're fighting somebody here and there's like 3 of them in there, it can be worth grappling in, E, grapple back out, finish your fight. Okay, just play it by ear. Don't get CC'd. Don't waste it. Here's kind of the reason Ball is seen as pretty bad right now is because he's very team comp reliant, and he's very reliant on the enemy team's team comp. Your #1 counter is Zenyatta, not Sombra. Everybody thinks it's Sombra. It's not. Sombra hack only brings you out for 2 seconds. If you get hacked, you turn, you shoot the Sombra. When you get your abilities back, you leave. It's that easy, right? Sombra teleporters are pretty easy to find, especially if you're a DPS player. All you have to do is just kind of know the spots in your head. You're going to want to look around health packs and in corners. So, for example, first point, Sombras love to hack this Mega and put their TP right in here. Or maybe here, or here. Like, you know, you just got to look for it. It's pretty easy to see, not hard to spot. So just watch out for Zenyatta. If they have a Zen on the enemy team, don't slam the team. Only slam in 1v1s, or you'll die. Because Discord is not a good thing to happen to you, right? Your team needs to work with you. You are only enabling your team. You can do that a couple